Hey, what's up everybody? Will Mosby here, back with yet another DIY video. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to make this really cool flagstone path. Flagstone walking path. Flagstone path? Flagstone paver path? I don't know what you want to call it. Let's go. All right, so let's see if I can arrive at how we came up with the idea for this pathway and really the need. It was just a necessity, as all these DIY projects end up being, is just out of necessity. So I had done a video on that little, wow, it is really hot and I'm just like dripping sweat. It is super humid out and I'm trying to beat the storms. Anyway, so these projects come out of necessity, and I had started, we had this kind of weird area on the back side of our house right here, right behind the third car garage, and it was just blank. It was like a no man's land. It was just all grass right here and just kind of continued all the way along the side up to where the hot tub is. And so I decided to build this 10 by 12 kind of utility deck right there. That's how this all started. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link up somewhere up there to where you can actually go see how to make that. Real easy, real easy. So and by the way, this little DIY project took us a weekend to do. Really, just slightly less than a weekend. Some fellas came out. We were the other part to this is that we were extending our driveway. I needed a place to park the truck. Again, that was just a no man's land as well. Every house out here had this that had a third car garage didn't have the driveway extended. So bad on the builders, but so we decided to go ahead and extend the driveway on back to marry up with the gate right there. And right after those fellas were done pouring the concrete, we decided to get to work. Actually, I used those guys in the video, which you'll see. I didn't use it, but they did it for me. They came over and kind of cleared the path right here. So I asked them to go ahead, as they were clearing that path, I asked them to go ahead and clear this path all the way over to the steps of the hot tub. So that was super nice of them to do that, and that would have been a lot of work with me, my wife, and a couple of shovels and a wheelbarrow. That would have been really tough. They did it in just a few minutes with a bobcat. So anyway, I had this little utility deck right there, and it just kind of started to turn into this cool little garden area. And so I ended up putting one of those shade sails right over the top of it. And that's really cool. And if you'd like to see a video on how I did that, how I tied it and all the hardware that I used, please leave a comment below. By the way, before we go any further, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And comment, even if you just say hi to me, whatever, give me a thumbs up, something like that. That would be really cool. That really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you very much. And I like all the comments, and I typically will comment back very quickly. But anyway, so we built this little utility deck, and it started becoming pretty useful for a garden. So we moved a few things up onto it, and it's worked out great, and the plants love it there. So here we go with the path. So I was like, it'd be really cool. So I went on Pinterest, and I said, it'd be really, really cool if we could do some kind of flagstone pathway. So I started looking up flagstone pathways, sidewalks, whatnot, on Pinterest for inspiration, and came up with this design. Not quite this design. My wife had a say-so in how this one is laid out. Big hat tip to her as well, and my daughter for helping on this project. I couldn't have done it without them. There's no way. I laid the liner underneath by myself in like 98-degree temperatures out here, and it was so stinking hot. That was done right after those guys put that part in. So it was really hot that day, but big hat tip to them because they worked their tails off. A lot of shoveling, a lot of raking, a lot of lifting, a lot of moving stones and stuff like that. All right. So we just thought, well, we'll just extend it from the gate, from the one side of the gate, all the way around to the hot tubs. That way, whenever we step off the hot tub, and we've got this little area over here, because a lot of times we need to come over to the back side of the hot tub so we can grab the top part, the cover of the hot tub, and kind of lean it over this way on its little hinge. You can see it right there, a little hydraulic hinge. And so I just wanted to tie in the pathway, the whole thing, and that was it. So it's about 40 feet from the gate all the way back to here, maybe just slightly larger than that. I had, for inspiration, gone over to Pinterest and I saw this really cool flagstone pathway. I knew I wanted to do flagstone, but I wanted a border, so I decided to get these little pavers. So at the Stone Center, they had these pavers on clearance, which is a 6x9 paver. You can pick these things up at Lowe's or Home Depot, but our Stone Center here in Charlotte had them on clearance, and so I got them at a really good price. And there were 112 pavers in this stack. I counted it up, and so I just kind of did the math and did some guesswork. I was off by 2, so I had to actually go back because I couldn't put everything in my truck at one time. I have a full ton of gravel, and yeah, we made a little bed right up there along the side of the garage and used gravel to cover that up. And I've already started planting a few things up there. But that's a whole ton of gravel in there, and that was just a best guess. I thought it was going to be like 3/4 of a ton, but I went ahead and bumped it up, taking a look at it, and I was like, yeah, we're going to need a full ton to cover this whole thing and that little section. We even put a little bit over here in this section, kind of around this. This was mulch, or actually pine straw to begin with originally, and then we put mulch and didn't like it, so then we just started kind of covering things up with rock. If I could cover the whole yard in rock, I think I would, just to eliminate all the yard work, but whatever. All right, so but then I didn't exactly know how many flagstones I'm going to need, so they had kind of a pick your own section of the Stone Center, so you can just go over and grab a pallet and start piling it on. Well, the first load were all the smaller ones that you see in here, and I'm going to show you all this and talk about it as we do it. But these two out border rows here of flagstone, that's what I got on the first trip. Yes, there were 2 trips over to Stone Center. Like I said, I couldn't get it all in one visit. But that ended up being 540 pounds of flagstone at 25 cents per pound. So that's not too bad, right? Not too bad for all this flagstone. But then we got over here, kind of threw it in place, and quickly realized there's no way that we're going to get the coverage of this entire 40-foot path back over here to this with just those little flagstones. So my wife said, hey, why don't you go back and see if they have some larger flagstone? That's what you're looking at here. So I went back over. Yes, they had some really large pieces of flagstone. I mean, let's look at this. That's a size 12 shoe right there, and that gives you an idea. So that's a foot. So you're talking about a 3.5 foot piece right there. So all these are pretty large that we put down. She said, why don't we put these down in the middle? We'll run the smaller ones on the border on the outside, and that may give it a pretty cool look. As usual, she was right with her design. I hate to admit that. No, I'm not. She's really good at this stuff. So that was her idea. Big props to her. And because when I first put it in, I was like, oh no, this is not going to work. So ended up putting the big ones down in the middle and the little ones on the border, and filled it in, and it came out great. We put all the gravel on there and just filled it in, just using a shovel and rake. And yeah, we had to shovel out of the back of the truck, put it into a wheelbarrow it over, dump it. You're gonna see it all. So now let's go through all the steps on how we actually did this. These guys taking up all the turf and us putting all the flagstone down and kind of lining it up. So I'm just gonna go through all the steps right now. Here we go. All right, so here's Alonzo and his crew, and they are using the Bobcat, ripping up the topsoil. What a big help this was, and made quick work of getting that out of the way so we could start putting down the fabric. And here is that. Now I know that you've already seen these first 2 videos, but worth mentioning again. And now I'm putting down the pavers, the 6x9 pavers. That took 114 of these things to put in. Quite the number. Really nothing special about putting these things down. You're just making a border all the way around.
Alright, so now that we have the border made, we can start putting in the flagstone in place. And these are all these small pieces that we're trying to randomly put in. I would say that's the best advice, is just try to be as random as possible so it doesn't catch the eye.
I guess it depends on how big they are. Like if they're pretty big,
yeah,
you put the biggest ones here.
Okay, found out that I didn't have enough flagstone and we have to go back to the store, get a few more big flagstones. So what the idea is, we're going to put larger flagstone to step on. So whenever you step off of the concrete pad here, we're going to step onto larger flagstone, big pieces, and then we're just going to walk across kind of at a normal pace and hit the flagstone. And then these smaller ones that you see here kind of on the borders, those are just kind of fillers, but we ran out, so gonna have to go back and get a few of those and some of the large ones, and of course a bunch of rock. And my estimation is it's going to take a full bag of rocks, which is 1.5 tons. So back to the stone center I go. So now you can see my wife and I are headed up to the truck and grabbing the flagstone out of the back and having to walk them over. Some of them we're putting on the grass because we don't quite know where to put them just yet. And some look like they know where they're supposed to go, so we put them in place. And this goes on, kind of placing them in place and evaluating to see if we like it and if it looks random enough. And this goes on for a while to get the order correct. Now the video is sped up about 600% to save you from boredom, but you can hear us sounding like a couple of squeaky mice because we're discussing the layout quite a bit and just want to make sure that we're getting it right. Well, if you have ever wondered what it looks like to move an entire ton of rock or gravel with a single shovel and a wheelbarrow, that's what this is. And so this went on for quite a while to empty that bag. And here's my daughter, huge help. She's going over and muscling that wheelbarrow over. And then my wife is doing a fantastic job just using a rake and spreading this out pretty evenly, and then getting her hands all dirty. And really that's all there is to it. She's just going to go around and spread this rock out and try to cover the landscaping fabric the best that she can with the rock that we have. And we definitely had plenty of it, so that was the right amount to get from the stone center, was a full ton of rock or gravel. All right, so there you have it. Thanks for watching this video. Hopefully now you can go out and build your very own flagstone pathway. Pretty easy. Like I said, only took us a little bit shy of a full weekend, a couple of days into this, and we were able to kind of chill out, rest on a Sunday. So we did this on like half a day Friday and most of the day Saturday. But yeah, not too bad of a project. You guys will be able to knock this out. And again, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.